Blog Talk Radio.
Hey, what's cracking? This is Darren McDuffie, affectionately known as the Fat Man, because I help you become perfectly healthy and toned. And welcome back to another episode of Fat Man Radio. Tonight, I'm actually doing what I call a takeover show, where I'm actually giving the host duties over to a really good friend of mine. We do a podcast together. Her name is Diane Kaiser, and we do the Wellness Warrior podcast together. So I'm going to bring Diane on, and I'm going to actually be in the hot seat answering some questions here. And if you want to call in, you can call in and ask questions. The number is 646-716-9371. Again, the number is 646-716-9371. So let me bring Diane on. Diane, are you there?
I'm here, Darren. How's it going, man?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much for actually taking over the host duties tonight and giving me a break, somewhat, so to speak.
It's my pleasure. We helped each other out. You did for me last week, too, remember?
Yeah. I did your webinar, which was an excellent webinar on food sensitivities. So I was glad to help you out, and I'm glad that you're helping me out tonight. And I was just talking about our Wellness Warrior podcast, and we've had some issues with Skype as of late, and I think we've actually figured those out. So for those of you out there, I think I posted this on Facebook earlier, where Microsoft bought Skype. So now all of us Mac users are having problems with Skype. So we think we figured that one out, and it'll allow Diane and I to start actually getting our podcast out there without so many audio technicalities. So I'm hoping that we can get through that.
I hope so too. Amen to that.
Yeah, I was really frustrated the other night. I think you had your friend on, and she was talking about autism, and I was just so thoroughly frustrated. The thing kept repeating our voices, and I was like, what the heck is going on? And I just said to myself, I said, this didn't start happening until we did that recent update of Skype. And then last night I stayed up till midnight really trying to figure out what was going on. And I just so happened to go on the Skype site, and a lot of people were saying, I'm having these issues with Skype now that it has this new update. So I was like, it's got to be Skype. So I downloaded
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, could you imagine if, we came as human beings, we woke up every morning and there was, a little reminder that we had to download or update something in our system, and it was, our hormones and our digestion? Could you imagine that? And then we would, blame our relationship problems on update problems?
Yeah, I know a lot of people would probably get away with that one. A lot of people would miss out because they would get to download stuff, so... So I know exactly what you're saying.
I'm having a bad day. I forgot.
Yeah. So I know exactly what you're saying. So, I just wanted to share that with the audience, because a lot of times it's very magical, the fact that I live in South Florida and Diane lives in Southern California, and we can even get on here and record a podcast. We don't have to be in person. Her and I just go through this thing on my Mac called GarageBand, and I record it, and then I edit it, and then I put it up on iTunes for everyone to download. And just speaking of that, the Wellness Warrior show is on iTunes. That's the one I do with Diane. And also this show, Fat Man Radio, is on iTunes as well. And one of the things I wanted to stress, and this is how I started learning about my health, and Diane, I know that you do the same thing, is I'm constantly listening to other people's podcasts, because I'm learning different things from other people, and that's the way that you learn. You have to be open to it, and you can't be closed off, because I learned something from everybody. I mean, I've learned things from Diane by just talking to her or listening to her on podcast, things that I didn't know. I listened to Chris Kresser. I listened to Frida. I'm not gonna say Frida's last name because I'll probably botch it, but she has a podcast as well. And there's a lot of people out there that have really good nutrition podcasts. Sean Croxton is probably why I actually started Fat Man Radio, just by listening to him, and I got the motivation to move on and just start my own show. So just wanted to stress that to you, is that if you really want to be healthy, you have to be open to learning, and you just can't be closed off, because there's a lot of things that we think or we believe that we've been told, and those things aren't really necessarily true. Yeah. So, all right. So I am done. I'm handing it over to you. Shoot. Ask me whatever you want to ask me.
Well, Darren, I think it's important what you just indicated about our journey, and that's actually how we found each other, was the Underground Wellness Podcast by Sean Coxton. And I'm listening to at least one podcast a day to keep up with the up-and-coming health topics, and just to even learn some of the older ones that I'm not aware of just yet. And I think that there's a lot of idle time that we have during our day. We say that we don't have enough time to do things, and in the car or on the way to the gym or in the gym, we could be listening to things like this. And that's what I hope for your podcast, and that's what I hope for our podcast too, because people say they don't have enough time, but there is some time if you really find it to multitask. So without further ado, this show is about you, so we're going to get into that. Good. What is something that you can tell us about your journey, Darren? Because I know your journey, but I want your listeners to hear about your journey and what got you here into health.
Yeah, my journey is kind of long, and I'm going to take people back to the very beginning, because I think everything that I'm going to say is very important. So for those of you out there are some people probably on the podcast that know me ever since I was a kid. If you're from the hometown that I'm from a little small town called Sumter, South Carolina. If you blink, you'd probably miss it. We're about 30 minutes away from the capital of South Carolina, which is Columbia, South Carolina. So when I was growing up, I was actually a really skinny kid, and I had this complex about being skinny. I hated for people to call me slim. People would call me, I had the point guard from my high school basketball team would call me Heavy D, which was, a play on words. And I just hated being skinny. And I remember asking my mom one day, I said, Mom, will I ever gain weight? And she said, once you get into your 20s, Darren, she said, you're going to start gaining weight. So I didn't believe that. I was one of those people that you probably hate. I could eat anything and everything and never gain any weight. So in relation to that, what I would do is I would gather up my money. I would go to the bodybuilding or the supplement store, and I would get these weight gain shakes. And I would OD on those weight gain shakes. I would drink them with milk, and all it would do, I would never gain any weight. All it would do was give me gas. So I wasn't successful in gaining any weight. So to give everybody a visual, when I graduated from high school, I was 6'5", and I weighed 165 pounds. I was real thin.
Crazy.
Yeah, I was real thin. So this continued on through college. I think when I graduated college, I grew 2 more inches. I was 6'7", and I graduated college at 6'7", 177 pounds. That was it. So that was when I graduated. I graduated at about 21 years of age. And then about 24, 25 years old, that's when I started gaining weight, just like my mom told me. So I started gaining the weight. I went from 177 to 180, 185, 190, and 195 to 200. So I was happy about that. I was like, I'm starting to gain weight. I'm really happy about this, because I was just tired of being skinny and tired of people calling me slim. So let's fast forward, because I want to get everybody to the whole story. So I got into my 30s, and I really started gaining weight. And in my 30s, I remember going home, and I went home to visit my mom. And this was probably the early part of 2004. So I went home to visit my mom, and my routine when I used to visit my mom was I would stay for a couple of days, and I was living in Florida at the time. I would just stay for a couple of days, get up really early in the morning, because there's something about me with driving in the hot sun during the day. It's like I'm always better in the morning with driving. So I would get up about 5 o'clock in the morning, pack up the car, and get on the road. It's about a 30-minute drive to get back to Interstate 95 to come back down here to Florida from where I'm from. So that particular morning in 2004, I got up, did my normal routine, packed the car up, came in to give my mom a kiss and a hug, and my mom was crying, and I was like, man, what is